now that politicizing the coronavirus. You know that, right? Coronavirus.
Italy crossed a grim milestone this week, surpassing China as the global epicenter of the pandemic.
New numbers in the coronavirus pandemic. Today marks 1 month now. The first record.
Start by bringing you up to date with the latest coronavirus development.
The race to fight a virus in and around.
In the music industry, the desire to make timeless records is a very common goal shared amongst artists both big and small. They want their music to be played forever, regardless of when the work was made. If you watch a lot of artists being interviewed like I do, then you've probably heard something similar from your favorite musicians. Something like, make sure to not date your work so that it can be enjoyed and stay relatable forever. This has always fascinated me, and it's something that I try to implement in my own work. That's one of the reasons why, at first, I was so hesitant to make any type of videos specifically related to COVID-19. 10 years from now, long after this is all over and people look back, I find myself thinking if in the future, will all of this just be some sort of distant memory? There have been global pandemics before, and sadly, the world has a history of just kind of forgetting these things ever happened, and not really learning anything from them. If I make art about this whole thing, would it really serve any purpose 10 years from now? Will it be of any real value? And then I realized how incredibly destructive and regressive these types of thoughts really are. I mean, we are living a historic moment. Yes, there has been pandemics before, but this is different, man. The entire human race is being forced to live in completely unnatural ways. Social distancing, self-quarantine, having to communicate entirely through the internet. I mean, hell, people even have to wash their hands now. 2020 will go down in the books for being an incredibly important and absolute shit show of a year. After this whole thing is finally over, I honestly think that nothing will ever be the same. That made me completely change my mindset. While, yes, I agree that one of the recipes to making timeless art is to be just ambiguous enough to where anyone can put themselves in the work at any time, I also think that some events are just too important to not reference, you know? I mean, just think about if every artist rigorously followed this self-imposed rule about never specifically mentioning important moments in the world. Art as a whole would be at a complete loss, if you ask me. And look, I get it. The idea is to be relatable across generations. Nobody wants their work to not mean anything after they're gone. But just think of your grandkids. I mean, if the only way that they'll be able to look back at the important events that ultimately shaped their modern world and their worldview is by looking through old news articles and not by consuming art of the period, then, I mean, you have to consider as an artist, how relatable are you actually being? Recently, I've seen a number of people express their discomfort with the idea that artists are making creative works about this whole global crisis, because some of them feel like it's actually really insensitive to try and capitalize on such an unfortunate event that has sadly cost thousands of lives all around the world. Which is another reason why I ended up giving so much thought to even making anything related to this whole pandemic in the first place. You know, and as I did that, as I thought about it more and more, I had another thought that came to mind. I thought, well, if you're going to make art related to this crisis, then it must be positive and uplifting. People are already going through hell. And there's definitely a growing amount of artists who feel that during moments of great crisis, the role that they should play as an artist is to try and get people's minds off of the daily doom and gloom that everyone is inevitably going through. I definitely respect and agree with a lot of this sentiment. I mean, people turn on the news and get immediately bombarded with heartbreaking headlines all day, right? Why would they then want to consume entertainment that does the exact same thing? People want to forget about their stresses. They want to feel good about themselves, you know? And they're totally in the right for wanting that. Hell, I myself had to make it a personal rule to not check the news more than twice a day because I was turning into a nervous wreck. So please, by all means, keep making entertaining content that's gonna keep us off from going absolutely mental. But, of course, I did come to disagree with myself later, and I mainly took issue with the idea that the art must be positive and uplifting, that you shouldn't have the option to go darker in times of crisis. That aspect of it I did end up disagreeing with. I know I don't need to tell anyone how useful art can be as a coping mechanism, both creating it and consuming it. I don't know about you, but I personally have had many times when a movie or an album has helped me understand and overcome big problems that I might have been going through at the time. But it was only by allowing myself to create and consume those darker, more uncomfortable works that I managed to obtain the necessary insight to work through these issues. That's why I can't get fully on board with this notion that during times like these, art must always be very positive and bright. The idea that in crisis, we as artists need to entertain, and nothing more, I just can't get behind. I mean, yes, we do need to entertain, but we also need to advise, to guide, to let people see themselves and their reality be portrayed for what it actually is. I think that at the end of the day, like most things, it comes down to intent, right? As long as your intent is not to quote-unquote capitalize on a crisis, but instead to try and help in whatever way you can, then I think you're fine. And you shouldn't let what other people might say or what they might think stop you from trying to help in whatever creative form that you want. Just go ahead and do it. Here's a thought. Why does it take a global pandemic to make society respect the people that keep it functioning? The people that are actually really helping. When you need food, who harvests it? Who keeps your grocery shelves stocked? When you need to get somewhere fast, who keeps our cars gassed? Who drives our buses? Who keeps our streets clean? Who watches our kids? Who tends to our elderly? Hell, who takes care of us when we're sick? Essential workers, that's who. So then why? Why are these the most underpaid, most disrespected workers in society? Oh, because they don't make a lot of money? Oh, I see. Or maybe it's because anyone can do their job, right? Oh, I get it now. Oh, but some corporate douchebag executive in the financial industry with a salary of millions and millions of dollars, whose social utility is essentially non-existent, and whose job is a result of powerful companies manipulating their political, economic, and social standings to pad out their profits, the same executives that spearhead companies that would much rather lobby against paid sick leave than to provide a safe work environment for their employees? Ah, now there's someone you should respect, right? I mean, just look at all the zeros next to their paycheck. I just hope that when all of this is over, we can remember who it was that was out there risking their lives and the health of their families to perform a job that's actually essential to our society. I just hope we can remember who are the ones keeping all of our lights on, man. And look, I'm not gonna pretend like I myself don't want to get a high-paying job in the entertainment industry one day, because I do. I'm not that big of a hypocrite. But really, all I'm asking for of myself, really, and of everyone else, is a simple 7-letter word. RESPECT. That's it. Respect. We gotta respect our essential workers, kids. I guess that's today's lesson. But yeah, that's enough rambling for me. Until next time, make sure to have yourself a very blurry day. Oh, and remember to keep those hands clean.